Hello, fiendlings. How the hell are you? I went on a recording binge this week and managed to finish, to the best of my limited abilities, the Neptune Scars audiobook. Folks at the $10 level on Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee will get it later today or tomorrow. No word on a commercial release for this since I'm uncertain its quality is up to snuff. Regardless, if you want to know what happened next to the crew of the Derelict Saga, get over to patreon.com/Paul E Cooley or buymeacoffee.com/Paul E Cooley and get yourself some collective blessed goodness. While finishing up that book is a big relief, I still have proverbial miles to go before I sleep. I'm still on schedule, I think, to finish up Extinction by the end of the month, assuming no new disaster rears its ugly head, of course. With all that said, it's time to get back to the words. Be safe, have a great week, and we'll talk again real soon. Here's episode 4 of The Black, Arrival.
The hallway was cold, and Maeve was already complaining. "It's colder in here than it is outside." Kate ignored her and kept walking toward the stairs. "Mom!" Kate glanced at her daughter. "You screw your face up any more, your mouth will turn inside out." Maeve heaved a petulant sigh. "Upstairs?" "Yes, upstairs," Kate said. "And since you're carrying so much crap, let's use the elevator." "Good, because my arms are already tired," Maeve said. The whoosh of an automated door filled the hallway. Kate looked back. Jay was walking out of the labs, smile on his face, coffee cup in hand. Jay looked as if the day was fresh and new. "Shh," Kate said to Maeve. "We have a stalker." "I heard that," Jay called from down the hall. "Hold up, ladies." Kate and Maeve stopped as the older man walked to them. When he reached Maeve, he tousled her hair. She pretended to flinch. "Keep that up, young lady, and I won't offer to carry your bedroll." He held out a hand to Maeve. She grunted and handed the rolled-up blankets to him. "There. See? I'm good for something." "Thanks, Uncle Jay." Maeve's teeth flashed in a grin. Jay met Kate's eyes. "You said something about an elevator?" Kate nodded. "Yep. Let's go." They headed down the long hallway to the bank of gleaming steel doors. Jay punched the up arrow. Machinery groaned behind the door. "One of these days, that thing's just going to fall down and end up in our so-called basement." Kate chuckled. "Why do you think no one uses it unless they're carrying something?" She gestured to the bedroll in his hands. "Hopefully the new building will be better." "You been over there lately?" he asked. She shook her head. "Nope. I know the sky bridge is sort of open, but that's about it." Sky bridge. More like the Alaskan bridge to nowhere. I mean, why the hell did they need to build that to connect 2 second floors? It's ludicrous. Kate shrugged. Guess the execs wanted to be able to travel between them. Of course, that would require them to renovate this piece of shit. "Mommy said a bad word," Maeve sang. "She did indeed." Jay smiled. The elevator doors groaned open. Jay gestured to the door with his coffee cup. "Ladies first." Maeve mocked a curtsy and stepped into the car. The elevator walls were textured, but the once bright Mediterranean colors had long since faded. Kate stepped in, and Jay followed behind. She stabbed the button marked 2. Nothing happened. "Damn it," she said, and pressed it hard. The button lit up, the elevator dinged, and the doors did nothing. "Piece of..." A motor rumbled, and the doors slowly closed. Kate shook her head. "Well, at least the lab is still in good shape." Jay chuckled. "Right. As soon as the floor caves in, it'll be in the same shape as the elevators." "Mom?" Maeve asked. "Why is this place always falling apart?" The car lurched as it began to ascend the 40 or so feet to the second floor. "Because we're waiting on the new building, and they don't want to spend any more money on this one until that one is finished." Maeve clucked her tongue. "I don't think you guys should come to work anymore. Not until they fix it." "Right," Jay said. "Because I've always wanted to be homeless." Kate smiled at her reflection in the gleaming steel. The custodial staff wasn't allowed in the labs, but they did their best to keep everything else looking as new as they could. Pointless effort, really. Clients seldom visited the lab, and Hal's employees certainly didn't give a shit one way or the other. But at least it made it seem like they were working at a real company that wasn't on a shoestring budget. Like Jay said, the labs were tip-top. Anytime a new piece of equipment came on the market that Kate or the other lead scientists wanted, they got it. If something broke, it was either repaired or replaced in a matter of hours. That went for the computers, too. The admins were always on call, even on the weekends. The elevator lurched again as it came to a stop. Another ding and the doors struggled open. Maeve hurried through them and into the hall. When she was far enough away for Kate to exit, she turned around and pointed at the elevator with her free hand. "I'm not using that thing again." Kate laughed as Jay exited. "I think Uncle Jay agrees with you." Jay shook his head. "Next time, kiddo, you use the stairs, even if I'm on your back." Maeve ignored them and headed to the office hallway. Kate and Jay followed. "The sample here yet?" Kate asked. Jay sipped his cooling coffee. "Marie hasn't texted me yet, so I'm guessing no." Kate frowned. "But you checked the lab?" "Yup," he said, "and it looks about as good as it's going to." They reached the closed door marked Cheevers. Maeve swiveled the knob and opened it wide. Kate's office was Spartan, except for the picture of Maeve hanging on the wall and the leather couch beneath it. An LED in the corner of her computer screen blinked. Kate dropped her purse on the desk. Maeve was on the couch and unzipping her pack. "Little miss, where would you like your bed?" Jay asked. She stuck her tongue out at him and then grinned. "Just drop it by the couch." Jay did. "Thanks, Uncle Jay." He bowed and then turned to Kate. "What do we do until the sample arrives?" Kate pushed her mouse and the computer screen lit up. She typed in her password, ran her finger through the thumbprint scanner, and then waited. "I think we should figure out the test order." The screen flashed and then displayed her desktop. She checked her email. "Christ, Chuckles is performing a maintenance update?" "Ah, crap," Jay said. He took a long draft from his giant mug. "When's he going to start that nonsense?" "If you ever checked your email, you know." Kate nodded to herself. "He's got a 10 to 4. I guess he'll be burning the midnight oil right along with us." Chuckles, the most unpleasant man on earth. He was Hal's system administrator. When something went wrong with the network, their internet access, or any of the machines, Chuckles was the man to fix it. But if he couldn't fix your desktop remotely, he crawled out of his cave and stumbled into your office like a bear awakened during hibernation. Irritable, always muttering under his breath, and prone to screaming profanity in his cave, Chuckles was hardly her favorite person. "At least we don't have to worry about the systems crashing and having to call him out of bed," Jay said. He sipped his coffee and scowled at the mug. "Damn it, this thing never stays hot long enough." Kate grinned. "Probably because it's made of thick ceramic and has no top. The heat just escapes too rapidly." "You know," Jay gestured with his cup, "I'm a scientist, too." She dropped her eyes back to the computer screen. Simpson, vice president of PPE, had sent her an email. She double-clicked it, read the text, and hissed through her teeth. "You know, I'll take their money, but not their abuse." "Now what?" Jay asked. He walked around her desk and read the email. "That's not abuse," he said. "He simply wants to make sure we let him know when the sample gets here, when we've started testing, when we've finished, when the report's done, and updates every 5 minutes. He took another draft of coffee and grimaced. All very diplomatic. Kate looked over the monitor at Maeve. She had unpacked. A sparkly-colored tablet was on the couch along with her phone and the bedroll. A math book lay open beside her, and she had a notepad in her hands. "Maeve?" Her daughter looked over. "Yes? Make sure you get plenty of light. Don't want those eyes going bad." "Yes, Mom." Maeve reached behind her and touched the edge of the lamp on the end table. A cone of bright, white light dispelled the shadows. Maeve blinked at the sudden brightness. "Sheesh, Mom, you got the sun in here now?" Jay laughed. "My gift. Your mom doesn't get much natural light in here." He pointed to the window. "Kate's office has such a great view of the building next door that she's nearly always in shadow. Hence, the light." Maeve shrugged. "Whatever." Kate shook her head. "Sorry, Jay. She's, at that wonderful age." He chuckled. "Is that recognition I hear in your voice?" She tapped her finger on the desk and returned her eyes to the screen. "Something like that." Kate pulled up the report requisition from PPE. "Light test," she said. "Yeah, I thought that was odd too," Jay said. "I mean, it's not like we haven't seen that before, but still. I guess they're pulling out all the stops with him, too. Stockholders want a clean bill of health. She smiled at Jay. Else there's going to be hell to pay. Considering all the bullshit going on in the industry, I'm surprised anyone's trusting anyone's word, Jay said. She shrugged. If we... Yosemite Sam's voice started yelling from Jay's pocket. He raised an eyebrow and pulled out his phone. His lips turned upward into a smile as he touched the phone screen and raised it to his ear. Marie, where you been all my life? Jay's grin widened as he listened. Okay, come to the break room when you're ready. He pulled the phone from his ear, touched the screen, and then pocketed it. It's here, he said. Nothing better than fresh coffee, Jay thought, unless it's a 15-year-old Macallan Fine Oak. He sipped from the huge Taz mug and turned as Marie entered the break room. Maeve and Kate sat at the table. Maeve had a glass of water. Kate sipped from her own cup of coffee. Their heads turned to follow Jay's gaze. Marie stood in the entryway. Jay pointed with his free hand. What happened to your hand? She glanced down at the bandage wrapping her palm. A blush rose to her cheeks. Had an accident with your cat puncher. Ah, Jay said. Yeah, I need to rework the design on that. I've done it before, too. Did it feel like fire under your skin? Marie asked. Jay blinked. No. Maybe some mud fluid was in the sample? Maybe, Marie said. The sample is ready. It's hooked up and the vacuum pump is primed. Kate grinned. Thank you, Marie. Have a seat. She entered the room and sat across from Maeve. Jay took a chair next to her. A paper spreadsheet was spread out on the table. The rows showed the tests to be run and their expected durations. Marie had already ordered them in an expected sequence. Jay barely glanced at the sheet. Marie had taken care of putting all this together yesterday, and he'd studied it more than once before Kate arrived. He imagined Kate had studied it too. I like this, Kate said. You did a good job, Marie, and I think we'll run with it. A shy smile lit Marie's face. Thank you. She turned to Maeve. Hi, Maeve. How are you doing? Great. The teenager's voice was a desultory monotone. Marie glanced at Kate. Guess she's not happy about spending the weekend here? Kate shook her head. No. She's being a brat. Brat, Maeve echoed. Right, because what every teenager wants to do is spend their weekend here, she said, hands encompassing the room. Cut it out, Kate warned. It's okay, Marie said. You know, Maeve, I used to spend weekends with my mom when she worked. Sometimes I even helped. Uh-huh, Maeve said. She make you do your homework too? Marie's eyes flicked to Kate and then back to the girl. Of course, but I didn't mind. Had plenty to read. She pointed at the tablet on the table. But you have that, and we have a fairly fast network. Bet you can stream to your heart's content. Maeve pushed a lock of hair from her face. Yeah, that's at least something. Plus, Jay said, I think Steve-O keeps a console around here somewhere. A console? Maeve asked. Her face lit in a hopeful smile. Yeah, Jay chuckled. You're not the only kid who's been trapped here for a weekend. Neil's kids are here all the time, especially lately. What kind of console? The girl asked. Don't know. Jay sipped his coffee. I wouldn't know the difference between a PS whatever or a X thingy on pain of death. But I know we have one somewhere. Kate looked at her daughter. See, not going to be so bad. Plus, our gracious CEO is making sure we have catered meals here. Cold cuts. Maeve sighed. Her mother laughed and touched Maeve's arm. No, girl. Mike pulls out all the stops. Won't be that bad, Jay said. I promise. I'll email Steve-O to help you get set up. Thanks, Maeve said. The sour expression on her face had disappeared. Jay relaxed. The last thing they needed was for Kate to get distracted by her precocious daughter. All right, then. Jay knocked his fist on the table. Let's get to work. Going to be a long night and might as well get started. Kate grinned. What? He asked. Haven't heard you make a single Looney Tunes reference. Jay's mouth opened in a wide, toothy smile. Night ain't over yet. The trio of chemists headed down the stairwell to the labs. When they exited through the secure door, the bright lights of the hallway made Jay squint. The lower floor of the building was more or less a large square bisected by the two labs. The chem lab on the west, the bio lab on the east. A wall of blast-proof glass rose from floor to ceiling. Anyone in the hallway could peer through the wall and into either of the lab's areas. Jay swung his head. Neil and Bill were already in the bio lab. Rather than being outfitted in safety gear, the chief scientist of Hal's biochem department wore a simple lab coat. His partner in crime, Bill Field, wore the same. Must be nice not to have to worry about explosions, he thought, and then chuckled. "What are you laughing about?" Kate asked. "Just reminding myself how fun my job is," Jay said. Neil, tall, pale, and bald, waved at him through the glass. Jay returned it. Neil grabbed his crotch and then turned back to Bill. Jay shook his head. "They hardly ever need safety gear. Just ain't fair." Kate punched him on the shoulder. "I think we have more fun." "Only when we blow shit up," Jay said. Marie hissed through her teeth. "Oh, let's not do that again." "Don't worry," Kate said. "I won't ever let Jay near sodium again." The trio walked past the biolab's decontamination area and to the chem lab's security doors. Jay glanced up at the camera embedded in the ceiling. A glowing red LED glared down at the heavy door set in the glass. Jay pulled his badge from his lab coat. Marie and Kate did the same. "Marie, will you do the honors?" Jay asked. Marie placed her badge on the black card reader. It toggled from red to yellow. Kate followed suit, and the yellow light began to blink. With a sigh, Jay put his card on the reader. The light changed to green, and the door clicked. Kate grabbed the handle and pulled. A puff of air greeted them as the pressure inside the lab stabilized. The harsh tang of old chemicals greeted Jay's nostrils. "Whew, place never clears out," he said. Kate grunted. "Let's go. Mike's not paying us by the hour." Jay gestured toward the door and winked at Marie. She walked in the lab without a word. He put his hand out to hold the door for Kate. She shook her head. "Age before beauty?" Lips turned up in a sneer. Jay stared at her. "Genius," he said, "before mediocrity." Before she could reply, he walked inside the lab. Kate hissed behind him. "That kind of talk's going to get you in front of HR, old man." "Old man?" Jay chuckled without turning around. "That's age discrimination." A stainless steel table ran from just inside the glass to the other end of the room along the east wall. It stopped just before another wall on the north side. Shelves of flasks, beakers, test tubes, and other glassware were arranged against the back wall. Two large, tall cylinders rose in the middle of the room. On either end were several electrical instruments and LCD monitors. The west wall had another long, gleaming steel table with various electronic analyzers. Doors closed. His ears popped as the room repressurized. Negative pressure in the chem lab kept potentially dangerous vapors from escaping if a seal ruptured or the glass managed to crack. The negative pressure scenario always worried Jay a bit. If for some reason a cloud of, say, H2S escaped during distillation or sulfur concentration tests, the lab techs would be locked in with the deadly vapors, unless they could shatter the glass or escape through the door. That was bad. But the idea the cloud would follow them if they managed to escape through the door was even more terrifying. Jay watched Kate move to the computer workstation at the front of the lab. She sat down in the black, ergonomic chair and pulled out her phone. She pressed the shift key, typed in her name and password. A dialog box popped up with the words, "Enter security key." Kate's fingers worked the phone until a number popped up on the screen. She typed the numbers into the box and clicked Authenticate. The screen flashed, and then filled with icons. The two-factor authentication was annoying, but Hal's commitment to security was one of the reasons companies like PPE used their services. In many cases, that loyalty made for exclusive contracts. "Okay," Kate said. "Let's go down the checklist." Marie grabbed a small beaker off the shelf and headed to the sample dispenser. 500 milliliters? She asked. Jay took up a clipboard from one of the stations. He looked down through the bifocal goggles. 500 ml, he confirmed. Marie pressed a few buttons on the controls. The machine beeped. She placed the beaker on the table below the dispenser. She pressed another button on the control panel, and a pump activated. It was trapped. It had no place to go. When the cap was punctured, it attempted to race upward through the steel pipes and gain leverage, but the vacuum prevented it from coalescing. At least it was in the dark, safe from its enemy. When the pump started, it streamed through the metal and Pyrex pipes toward the spigot. It had no thought other than escape. But with each particle siphoned off, it lost cohesion. It slept in the pipes as its intelligence was slowly ripped away.